Hello, I hope that you are doing well. Thank you so much for joining me here today where we are going to macrame. And I know that I have been doing my reading prompts, but I haven't been talking about my other prompts. So mostly what I've been doing is working on macrame. So when I was reading Death at Morning House, I was working on macrame key rings, and they look like that. So today we are going to make these macrame key rings. So the things you need: I use a foam board and a couple of binder clips, and that's what I attach what I'm working on to. You could instead just attach your key ring that you're working on to the table with some tape. Next thing you need is a key ring. You can use any type of key ring. So I've got a big flat round one. I've got a regular standard round one, and then I have one like this. You will also need some kind of macrame cord. So I have 3 to 4 millimeter cord. You also need a ruler, a pair of scissors. You might also want to have tape. That is up to you. And I'm going to use this key ring because this is awfully nice to attach the strands to. So let's set all that aside for now. So with the macrame cord, I need 4 pieces that are 30 inches long and one that is 10 inches. And so that's 12, 24, so 6 more, 30. So you just cut there. And then one 10-inch piece. So we're going to cut there. Set the 10-inch piece aside. We're going to attach the 30-inch strands to the key ring using a lark's head knot. So what you do is you fold it in half. So find the center, or just fold it in half and bring these two ends pieces together. Then you're going to fold the folded end over the key ring, put it through, bring it behind, and then grab all of those and pull it through. And that is a lark's head knot, and you're going to do that with all 4 strands. So I am attaching the last strand, and you'll notice that because I have the 4 millimeter cord, it's a little big and it overhangs those edges a little. That is okay. Now we're going to get this foam board back. We're going to take that binder clip, put it on the top, and then put that right in. So we've got them all attached. Straighten them out so they're all laying flat and they aren't intertangled with one another. And then we're going to take those 2, pull them over that way, take those 2, pull them over that way. So we've got this set of 4 strands and this set of 4 strands. And we are going to work in sets of 4 strands here. And we're going to just number them in order. So strand 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to take strand 5, pull it over to this side. And we want it pretty close to those top knots. This is where I like to tighten that down with the binder clip. So now we are going to do a series of knots. We're going to do them on this side, and then we're going to repeat them on this side. So We've got strand 5 anchored over here. You're going to take strand 6, loop it over strand 5. Take the end of strand 6 and pull it through this loop that's created by strand 4 and strand 5. Tighten it. And as I tighten it, I stand this side up and then I just push it over. And we're going to do that twice with each strand. So that was the first one. We're going to do this all over again. So make that loop, lay it over strand 5. Take the end of strand 6, pull it through that loop. And see, this is where I use my fingers to kind of stand that loop up and pull and tighten. So now we're going to move on to strand 7 and do the same thing all over again. So strand 7 goes over strand 5. The end of it comes through that loop created by strand 5 and strand 7. Pull to tighten, push that in, and do it again. And if you rush it, you kind of don't get the right look. So if you have any problems, go back and redo it. So I brought this up a little closer so you can see a little more clearly what I did, and we're going to do it again. We've just got one strand left on this side. This is loosening up a little, so I'm just going to tighten it back down. Okay, so we're on to strand 8. We're going to make that loop going over strand 5. We're going to take the end of strand 8, pull it through that loop, tighten it. I'm going to use my fingers to stand this up so that it goes more easily into the knot we want it in, and we'll do that one more time. So hopefully you've got the idea of what we're doing here. I'm going to take that binder clip off, and now you've got a new order for the strands on this side. So this is now strand 5, that is strand 6, that is strand 7, that is strand 8. We're going to come over to the left. We're going to take strand 4 and we're going to pull it over this way. And anchor it down with that binder clip. Okay, and we're going to repeat those steps all over again. So we're going to take strand 3, make a loop, take the end of strand 3, put it through that loop, pull to tighten, and do that one more time. So now we're going to go on to strand 2. We are going to make a loop with strand 2 that goes over strand 4. Take the end of strand 2, pull it through that loop, tighten it, and push it over. And we do that one more time with strand 2. And now we're going to do the same thing with strand 1. So basically, you've just pretty much done all the things you're going to do to make this pattern. And now we are going to repeat the same thing again. There will be a little bit of a change, and I'll let you know when we get to that. So once again, you want to lay them all out so they're, oops, sorry about that. Lay them all out so they're not tangled. And you're going to take the new strand 5 and lay it across. And this time, when we do that, we're going to leave a little bit of a gap there. So, take strand 4, put it over and through. And then pull, and you want to get that up as close to those knots above as you can. And do the second knot, and again, get it as close to those knots above as you can. We're going to do strand 7 now, so we're going to lay it over, but this time we're going to leave a little bit of a gap in there. So we don't want to get it all the way up close. So see, I've got that little, whoop, that might be a little too much. So let's tighten it a little bit. So I've got a little bit of a gap there, and then make your second knot. And then you're going to make your third knot, and you're going to leave a little bigger of a gap this time. And if you want to control better how big that gap is, you can just put your finger there. If you're like, that's as big as I want that gap to be. Kind of hold it down to make sure it doesn't get any bigger or smaller than that. Okay, same thing on the next side. So pull strand 4 over to the side. And make that same series of knots. Remember, this first one gets pulled up close, so does the second one. On the second strand, you're going to leave a little bit of a gap. On the third strand, you're going to leave a little bigger of a gap. And I have sped it up a little bit here, because if you've got the hang of it, you know what you're doing. You don't need everything explained again. If you don't have the hang of it yet, just go back and watch those first few knots again, and that'll get you the idea. Okay, once again, straighten those all out. Make sure they're not tangled over one another or twisted over one another. Get them all laying nice and flat. And we are going to repeat this again. And we're going to leave a bigger gap in those same places where we left a bigger gap. But the first one, we're going to tie up nice and close, just like we did. And remember, it's 2 knots on each strand, and remember, it's 2 knots on each cord, or each strand of each cord. So yeah, I was saying it right the whole long time, and I just tried to overcompensate. I don't want to make that too big, so I'm just going to tighten that up a little bit and go again. Yeah, that was right. I actually want that to be a little higher, so I'm gonna and remember, you haven't gone too far until you've tied the whole thing off and are done, so you can always just pull pull out the knots, go back and redo anything that you don't like the way it came out. On to the other side. First one up tight. Second one also up tight. Third and fourth, a little bit of a gap there. Fifth and sixth knot, a little more of a gap. Now you could make this with cord that isn't quite as thick. So if you went 2 millimeters instead of the 3 to 4 millimeter you were using, no. Yeah. If you went 2 millimeters instead of the 3 to 4 millimeter we're using, that would make it less bulky. Okay, we're gonna do another series of these knots, and this time we want them all up close again. So this is the 4th row of these knots that we're making, and this is our last row of them on both sides again. I really like to do when I make these is just get something nice to drink, play some nice music in the background, and just have a nice relaxing time. But I like music while I'm creating. If you don't, then don't do that. All right, so that side, we're done with our basic knots. This side, we're going to tie our last set of knots. And in case you're wondering what these knots are called, they are a double hitch. So when you do one of these knots, that's a hitch. So that's a hitch. You do the second one to make them more stable. That is the double hitch. We did this in a Saturday afternoon activity, and there was one girl who just caught onto it right away and just flew through it. It was very exciting to see. She just really loved it. Okay. So that part is done, but we are not yet done. So we're gonna attach that, and now I'm gonna attach it back down just because it's gonna make it easier to make sure that it is in focus for you. So you're saying to yourself, what about that 10-inch strand that we cut? This is where this comes into play. You're going to bring that 4th row of knots together and push all these strands toward the back. And then grab them all together with your hand. And bring them together. Okay. So now you're going to take that 10-inch piece and make a loop. And then lay that loop right on top of all that you're holding together. Grab the end of that 10-inch piece and wrap it around those 2 or 3 times. There, it's all laying together nicely. So then you're going to take that tail you were just wrapping around, put it through that loop that you have toward the top. you're going to find that other end piece, which is right there, and then you're going to pull those both together. And I'm going to quick attach that to there. Where is that one? So pull. And you've just created a knot, so that will not untie. So now you can cut this tail and you can cut this tail. You have a choice with the rest of them. Oh, that's what it looks like. And if you wanted to leave it like this and call that good, you could. If you did that, I would trim these and just tie a knot at the bottom. I am instead going to decide how long I want it, and I kind of like the tail to be as long as the top. So that means we're going to cut them right there. And then we're going to untwist those. And to make it easy, I use a comb and I just comb through. And I just do one at a time. If you do more than one at a time, it's too many. And you can go from doing the wide end to the narrow end. And as you get done with each group of strands, just push them off to the side. And now I see my battery's getting low, so I hope that we don't run out of power here. So remember, start with the wider teeth, then move to the narrower teeth. And as you get them done, you can comb them more together. And remember, you don't have to do this part. Like after I cut the strands, I could have just tied knots on the bottom of each of the strands and left it like that. That looks really cool too.